What's up, y'all? I'm Alan Hain, the Lawn Care Nut. Thanks for coming back for yet another week. Yeah, so I also have wild Bermuda that invades my Floratam St. Augustine. So for those of you that are seeing this, you're not the only one, and there really isn't too much you can do about it. But we'll talk about that a little bit more later in the video. So this video is going to be straight up Q&A, questions and answers, and it's going to be for all lawn types. Cool season lawns up north down through the Midwest in the transition zone, and warm season from the transition zone all the way down into South Texas, Louisiana, the Gulf Coast down into Florida, and back around to the East Coast up into South Carolina. No matter what your grass type is, I'll have some questions that I'll be answering for you here regarding fall lawn care. What's interesting is even though our weather in the South stays warmer longer and our grasses continue to grow a little bit longer through the season, both of us, whether we have cool season or warm season turf, we kind of start to wind down our season about the same time anyway. And of course, I'll be talking about Halloween lawn domination in this video because that is the last kind of thing you can do for the season. Again, no matter what your grass type is, dominating your neighbors all the way up through Halloween. It's kind of like that final kiss goodbye, you got dominated, see you next year, bro. However, for those of you down here in Florida, you can see my lawn is struggling, my St. Aug. Been working on it, got a video coming up for you on that. My lawn struggled through the summer, and then I didn't have my watering right, all kinds of little things, but I'll have a video for you. It'll probably take me another week to get this up into where I want it. I'll have that video coming for you up real soon. Okay, so let's get right into some questions, and I'll go ahead and start with cool season turf here. So question I'm getting a lot because leaves are starting to fall, you know, fall leaves and stuff, and people are asking, should I mulch the leaves or should I bag them up and catch them? Well, it kind of depends on how thick they are. Now I have a full video that I did on this, I'll link up here in the eye, but here's an example right here. If your leaves look like this right here, feel free to mulch those back in. And in fact, if you are somebody that wants to extend your mowing season, even though your lawn may not be growing anymore, but you still like to enjoy the mow, well, leaves are a great excuse for that. So get out there once a week, mulch them in, everything will be fine. However, if your leaves are thick like you see here, that's a little bit too thick of a leaf cover, and you're probably going to want to bag those up and either take them out to the street where your municipality will pick them up for you, or you have somewhere you dump them, whatever. You don't want to mulch that much material back into the lawn, and that is because it will pack in and it will create a problem for the grass. It can even smother the grass in certain spots. It's just a matter of using your judgment to realize this is a little bit too thick and this is a little bit too thin. And at the end of the day, trust your gut. If it feels like these are too many leaves for me to be mulching in, then you know what? You're right. Don't mulch them in, catch them, and take them away. So another one that comes up quite often is, how do I know if I should throw down more seed? So somebody's seeded, they've gone a certain number of days, and they're thinking, man, should I throw down more grass seed? Here you can see Jason says, or asks, how do I know when to throw down more seed, or when should I? I'm now at day 9 from seeding, 4 days after germination. On my lawn renovation, air temps are going to be 60 to 70 the next couple weeks. And leaves are starting to drop. Soil temps look to be in the mid 60s. I'm concerned about a couple places in between the lines. So here's the deal. Do not seed again. Just don't. You need to trust the process. You need to trust that you put down the right amount of seed according to the label on the seed you bought. You also need to trust that you got it raked into the soil. You need to trust that you used a covering. All of those things. But the real key to it is even if some of it washed away, you don't want to put down more because you don't know. Here's an example of someone who actually had a similar concern, and look at his lawn just a couple weeks later. You can see his filled in, and that's the first thing that I want to tell you with any kind of seeding, but especially with those of you who did the full lawn burn down. So much construction goes on in this neighborhood, I swear. But especially for those of you who did the full lawn burn down, what'll happen is after a certain number of weeks, 2 or maybe 3, you're actually going to get what I call a good rain. And a good rain is a soaking rain. And the next day, all of your seed will just come up. And that is because there is nothing that can match God's rain. We might try to water, we might get the best irrigation in the world, but it does not match the rain. And there's something about the rain that just makes everything come up. And I'll tell you what that is. The reason you need to have patience is because you don't realize it, but not all of the grass seed that you plant comes up at the exact same day, at the exact same time. It's very much like humans. The development is different. Some people develop early, some develop late, some, you know, that kind of thing. The other thing to realize is that some of that seed might get a little bit more heat. Some of it might be exposed to a little more sun or water. Even if a seed is planted a 1/4 inch deeper than another, that can delay germination and growth and all of that kind of stuff. So patience is the key, and trusting the process. I promise you, your seeding will work. The seed will come up. Now, the reason you don't want to add more seed is because of competition. Because I do trust that you did it right and that your seed is going to come up, if you were to add more, what'll happen is you'll have one generation of seed that's growing and trying to put in roots and trying to make its way in the world and start to take nutrients from the soil, but you'll have a second generation coming up right behind it and competing with it. And those two competing will actually end up killing each other. This is why a lot of times I'll get posts or see posts in our group in the mid-spring where people all of a sudden get these dead spots, and that's usually because they either reseeded or they seeded way too heavy in the very beginning, and they've created their own competition within their own lawn, and the strong are surviving and the weak are dying. One question I get a lot that's kind of interesting is how come the seed rates are different between Kentucky bluegrass, which might tell you to put down 2 or maybe barely 3 pounds per thousand, whereas with turf type tall fescue or rye, they might tell you to put down heavier amounts. I actually did a video on my LCN Just Lawn Tips channel. I'll link that up there in the eye, and I'll link it in the description below if you'd like to learn a little bit more about why different seed has different seed rates. Okay, back to seeding questions. I got this one. I have leaves falling on my new seed. Can I get out there and clean them up? So the answer is, yeah, you probably should. You don't want leaves blocking sunlight, and they'll block water and all kinds of stuff, and if they get matted down, that's not a good thing for brand new seeds. So yeah, you should definitely get them off. Just get out there with your blower and try to blow them away. You don't necessarily have to walk on every portion of the lawn. Your blower can blow several feet, so just walk as little as possible. Don't dance out there, and go ahead and blow those leaves off and get them out of there as best you can. A similar question that comes up is people want to know, well, when can I mow my new seeding? Well, you can mow whenever you can't stand it anymore, especially for those of you that did do the aeration and overseeding. We put down so much fertilizer to get the seed going, but also part of the strategy there is to thicken up your existing turf, and that existing turf will grow very fast. So when you can't stand it anymore, go ahead and get out there and mow. Again, just get on and get off. Get on there quick. Don't dance. You can mulch your clippings, that's fine, but just don't play around on it. Get on, mow, and get off. If you step on some of the new grass, it'll be okay, I promise. If a few die, that's okay. The idea is don't linger. Just get on, get the mowing done, and get out of there. You'll be just fine. Another one I get this time of year is people want to know, when can I fertilize again after my seed is grown? So typically, as you know, when you're doing seeding and that, I recommend that you put down starter fert the day of your seeding, put down another dose of starter fert about 2 weeks later, and then at that 30-day mark, 35-day mark, that's probably when you're going to be doing your first mowing or so. And at that point, you can go ahead and put down another dose of fertilizer. And there you want to go with normal fertilizer, something like a 2404 type analysis, something that's higher in nitrogen and a little bit of potash. If it has a little bit of phos in it, that's fine. I'll give you links below to a couple of suggestions, but that's when you want to do it. Day 30, 35, right after that first mowing, you want to go ahead and fertilize. And then depending where you live, you actually may be coming to an end in your season, and you're going to get to what's called your winterizer. Now, winterizer is kind of just a marketing term. It's not really a real thing. But when I worked for True Grain, our winterizers were always straight nitrogen. We used to use a 4600, and you want to put that down about a week or two after your final mowing, because you don't want it to be used by the turf this season. You want it to sit there so that next spring you have tons of nitrogen to push that lawn out really, really fast. Now, I can tell you, nobody sells a 4600, and you're not gonna probably find one. And actually, I've found over the years that it's a little better to have something high in nitrogen, but to also include a little bit of potassium and even a little phos in your mix. The reason you want a little bit of potassium in your mix along with the nitrogen is because potassium helps the lawn through stress. And let me tell you, winter dormancy heading into it and coming out of it, that's a stressful time for the lawn. The reason you might want to have a little phos in there is phos helps with root development. And even though your lawn is going to stop producing top growth in a couple weeks, the roots will still move. There'll still be a little bit of root production done even later than that. So a little bit of phos can help with that. I've actually got a perfect fertilizer. It's a 2448, and it's got some slow release in as well as some urea in it. So it'll help you all through the next spring, but also it's got phos, and it's also 8% potassium, which is higher than most ferts that you'll find. Here's a picture of what it did to my Bermuda lawn. So this here is what it looked like just before I went to Indiana, and here's what it looked like when I came back a little over a week later. This is after the 2448. Now, I know a lot of you get on me about cutting this too tall, and I'll have a video coming out on my reasoning behind that soon. Here is my St. Augustine. This was suffering. I've got a video coming out on this as well. This is the Floratam, and you can see it's not looking well. And I put the 2448 on this also. Then I went to Indiana, and when I came back, here's what it looked like. So you can see this fertilizer works really well. It's cleared things up. Now, I also did correct my watering here, so that's a big part of it, and I got a full video coming up for you guys soon as well. it'll do the same to your cool season lawn. And it works for a great winterizer, and it's actually super cheap. Price includes shipping. Click the link in the description below. Starting to get a little windy out, so I came in. Another question I got is, when can I spray weeds for the first time after seeding? And to be honest with you, you probably shouldn't even worry about spraying weeds. One of the things that you guys have up north, especially in areas where it snows or where the ground freezes, even if it's only to a few inches, is winter acts like a reset button for you. And any weeds that have grown, or a good portion of the weeds that have grown, are going to die from the winter. Now, some will live and some will go. That's just one of the things when you choose to seed that you got to deal with. You can deal with those next spring, but for the most part, I would not worry about spraying any weeds in the fall. Let the winter take care of the good majority of them for you. The next one people want to know is, they want to dominate for Halloween. You want to dominate for Halloween, they want to put down their double dark. How soon should I do that? Well, you can put this down if you're up north where it's a little cooler right now. 7 or 8 days prior to Halloween would be good. You're going to use 6 ounces of the microgreen and 6 ounces of the 700 Green Effect mixed together. I do recommend you do that out of a pump sprayer, and the reason why: the 700 Green Effect has foliar intake, meaning when it gets on the grass leaves, it can be taken in through the foliage, which makes it work much faster. You actually see results within 2 to 3 days. So a pump sprayer is going to give you a finer mist. Now, you don't have to use a fine mist tip, but you definitely want to soak the grass and leave it sitting for about 2 hours and then water it in, because the 002 microgreen will come in on the backside at that 6 or 7 day mark and take your color to another level. That's how the two work together, double dark. All right, here's one that came in for warm season. This one is for Bermuda and Zoysia. This one comes from Shane. He's in North Texas. What is the best height to mow our warm season turf lawns going into winter dormancy? So that's a great question. I actually been mowing my zoysia here at 3.5 inches all during the summer, and that's been my practice just because it's the rainy season and it's hard to keep up with. So mowing it a little higher gives me a little bit more forgiveness. But this time of year, I'm going to start bringing it down, and I like to get it down to 2.5 or 2.25 inches right before winter. Now mine's not going to go dormant, but for those of you that are going to go dormant, 2.5 to 2.25. You don't want to scalp it before winter, because again, you don't want sunlight and heat to get down into the soil, which can cause weeds and things like that to come up. You want to keep a little girth in there, and you want to take it down slowly over time. I would try to take it down over 4 or 5 mowings, depending how high you are, and try to let it re-level set, because it can get a little bit leggy, as we've talked about before. Especially with Bermuda and Zoysia, you don't want to cut into these legs too quick. You want to cut into the green, so by taking it down slow, the green will re-level set itself. However, if you do get some browning, it's not that big of a deal. Go ahead and take her on down. Okay, now for my St. Aug friends, you're going to start sending me more and more emails about this. This is actually wild Bermuda that's growing in here. Sometimes it'll look like these tufts right here. See that? Pretty much all of us have that. Now, there's nothing wrong with bermudagrass, but when it's in a St. Augustine lawn, then it is considered to be a weed, and that's why you don't want it in here, because you can see these do not look alike. Unfortunately, there is no chemical that you can spray to kill the Bermuda that also won't kill the St. Augustine. Now, every time I make a video talking about this, I get some people that saw this article somewhere, I don't know where it's posted, which says you can use a product called Progress, which is ethofumicate, along with atrazine to get rid of Bermuda and St. Augustine. And the answer is you can, but the atrazine concentration that you need is the highest concentration. I think it's like 21 or 28%, which is not available to homeowners. You cannot buy that concentration of atrazine without a license. So you'd have to use the 4% that's available to us, and it would literally take gallons in order to get to that percentage. The second thing is ethofumicate Progress is like $400 a gallon. The third thing is you're still going to get damage to your St. Augustine, because you can spit on St. Augustine with any weed control and it damages it. That's one of the challenges we have, is that every time we spray, whether it's methylfuran methyl or whatever we spray, it damages the St. Augustine. And when you're using ethofumicate or Progress and atrazine at that high a level, even under 85 degrees, it's going to stunt your St. Augustine. And here's the final piece of that. If you went to all that trouble and you eliminated the Bermuda, guess what would happen? The next spring, the Bermuda would come right back. So the only true solution is, and you can see how beautifully dark green this is to get the Pro Vista St. Augustine grass. This is a glyphosate tolerant grass. I'll link to all the videos I've done on it. But essentially you can use glyphosate or Roundup, but glyphosate as your post-emergent weed control for this grass, and it will not hurt it, but it will kill Bermuda and torpedo grass and carpet grass and crabgrass and whatever other stuff that you're getting in your St. Augustine that you can't get rid of. Glyphosate will kill it, but it won't harm this St. Augustine grass. Now, I realize that's a pretty big investment to make, but it's one of those that you just make once. So whenever the problem that you have with torpedo grass, wild Bermuda, carpet grass, whatever it is, tropical signal grass, whenever that gets to that point where you can't stand it anymore, then you just invest in the Pro Vista and you're good for life. So there you go, guys. A lot of quick Q&As here. Now, warm season turf, I've got a ton more coming for you, especially St. Augustine grass. Don't worry, I have so many projects to do around here that I got coming for you all winter. And for those of you that have cool season turf, it's always fun to learn about other grass types and learn why you should be happy that you have the turf type that you do by seeing some of the challenges that we deal with down here in Florida, where the lawn never sleeps, the grass never sleeps, and therefore the weeds, the disease, and the insects also never sleep. So you can kind of see how we deal with things. By the way, if you're looking for some other lawn content, I also started adding some reels to Instagram, which are the music type of deals, because you guys know I really like music. And in fact, I actually started a new playlist, an 80s playlist for you guys. We were doing the Enjoy the Mow playlist, so a few of you that are still getting to enjoy the mow, I'll link below to my 80s Enjoy the Mow playlist. But then that also encouraged me, or motivated me, to start doing some reels, because I like music and I like to put mowing to music and things like that. So I do some reels on Instagram. I'll link to that, as well as I'm also putting a few on TikTok, because why not? It's the same thing. So hopefully you'll find all that different lawn content to keep your mood bright here over the winter, no matter where you live. And with that, I really appreciate you watching. I'm Alan Hain, the Lawn Care Nut, and I'll see you in the lawn.